Morning and welcome to the Morning? It's evening. Sorry. Good evening and welcome to the AskWeldon Show, episode 243. Today, the show is titled Cannabis Use for Esport Performance. Interesting question got called in. And then we have questions about mental endurance and discipline. So, I'm having a really good day. Updates include winning the North American LCS quarterfinals with TSM versus EchoFox. Yes. So we're going to the semis next weekend. Probably C9 or Team Liquid will choose us. Probably C9 will choose us, actually, I think. But we might play against Team Liquid. Who knows? And other highlights for the day. I'm 3 days into my 5-day fast, and I have very, very high energy right now. Very excited about it. I got through yesterday, which I was quite hungry. Now I'm not. And yeah, everything's going well. Fast, by the way, is more of a mimicked fast because I'm eating about 400 calories a day, and mostly fat. And so I am like putting stuff in my mouth, but that's just because it's my first one. I think the next one will be a water fast. We'll see how it goes. I'm posting all the metrics and data of that up on my Patreon. You can check it out, patreon.com/mindgamesweldon. Everything there supports essentially what I do with the show and what I do with the brand and things like that. I'm also measuring my sleep. That's going to be coming up on the Patreon at the end. I'm not going to put it like on a day-to-day basis. What other highlights do we have for the day? It's the weekend. Yeah, and G2 lost. Got 3-0'd. So depressing. So sad. I feel so much pain for them, and I can't wait to talk to them and try to help them feel better. But I don't know if that's going to happen. And then tomorrow is the FlyQuest match. FlyQuest vs. 100 Thieves. Let's see how it goes. All right, I think that's about it for announcements. Should we hop into the show? All right, the first question here is from Donnie, and he's asking about his cannabis use. All right, let's see if I can get it to play.
Hi, Weldon. I've been competing in esports for a few years, and I've had this burning question with nobody to ask. I've been consuming medicinal cannabis for almost 4 years. At first, it drastically improved my gameplay. I was number 1 on multiple game battle slaughters and making a name for myself. Outside of gaming, before I started partaking in cannabis, I was a horrible student. Now I have all A's. Years later, I wonder if it's now doing the opposite. I've gone well over a month without partaking and didn't notice much of a difference in my gameplay. Yesterday, I smoked again and had some of the best gameplay I've had in weeks. I worry about it taking down my reaction time or getting in the way of decision making. I'm willing to do anything for the pro gaming dream, even if it means losing the medicinal benefits of cannabis. But then I have this mental argument with myself that I was at my peak in my esports career when I was at my highest cannabis usage. Have you coached any players who relied on cannabis like some rely on nicotine or caffeine?
All right, so first of all, Donnie, thank you for the very frank question and great background information. So I think you're actually asking two questions. One, what do I think about your situation? And two, have I coached any players that way? Yes, I have coached players who use medicinal cannabis for relaxation, and it's mostly used in professional sport as a recovery thing. So you use it in order to like de-stress after training, relax after training, and to prepare for like sleeping and to kind of like deregulate yourself. It is generally speaking like never used for performance, like actual live performance, because for physical feats, it inhibits your ability to perform. It inhibits your concentration and your ability to focus on kind of like the moment. And most high-level performers, so I work almost primarily with elite athletes, you can't get necessarily that level if you have to rely on a hack when you go on stage. And by hack, I mean something to like manipulate brain chemistry. Generally speaking, if you want to be an elite performer, you have to be able to like go on stage and have all the tools necessary kind of like internally. Now, there are performance-enhancing drugs, and everybody who's serious about their craft uses them, and that includes caffeine, which is the biggest and best legal one. And then, of course, then there are things like beta blockers and various other things you can use for mental sports and cognitive benefits that do help, but most athletes don't use those, just the ones who are cheating, really, since they go against the rules. And cannabis is one of the ones that I have seen like coming into the scene more and more as a recovery piece, yeah. So now, to your actual question, what I think about this, I think that you're giving the cannabis too much credit. I think that you are the one who did the actual getting all A's and actually improving your performance, okay? Not only that, but you may have used cannabis a little bit as a crutch to kind of like kick it off, but I don't think that you could sustain it for that long without having developed the actual skills required to do it, okay? So the way that it works is you need to generate like discipline and the ability to pursue value-based goals in a way where you forsake your impulses and your emotions and concentrate on the objective. And whether or not you use a stepping stone in order to be able to do that is irrelevant to the fact that you do that many, many times repetitively, and so you build up that choice, that capability, that gear where you can just say, okay, I'm going to do this thing because it's important to me. So I want you to think of it more like you used cannabis and it helped you practice that, and now you've practiced it a bunch, now you don't need it anymore. And maybe when you get to hard mode again, when you get to something that's like really, really hard, you're thinking like, okay, well now it's leveled up, like now it's even harder. Well, you can think about tackling it again and just like going through the same process of learning and growing and learning how to discipline yourself to specific achievement goals, based on your own failures, and you say, okay, I suck at this, and tomorrow I'm going to try to harder, and et cetera, et cetera. Or you might end up using medicinal cannabis again for what the effect was before. I'm not really sure, and I'm not in a place to like give you that advice as an individual or as a philosopher or anything, because I don't know what's right for you. Only you do. But I would say that you don't need it. I would say that everything that you did was something that you did, not something that the chemical did. And on top of that, actually, you did the repetitions and you did the discipline. And cannabis doesn't really help with that. It helps you with kind of like, I would say like being more mindful in a way, probably. But I don't think it helps you with the actual discipline that you need, which is what your brain was exercising on. So fantastic job there. So yeah, as far as performance goes, I would say that it, generally speaking, is seen as a performance unenhancing drug because it does lower reaction speed, specifically decision making. You can categorize decisions into like many different categories. There are, I think, like 6 to 8 different experimental tests in the lab that test different decision making sub-processes. So those are essentially different subroutines in the brain, or different physical areas where like sport-based decision making might take place. And it is only helpful for ones where you have too many things to think about and you can't decide between them, and it just like helps you clarify and see what's important and choose one of them. But yeah, it doesn't help with anything else, so it inhibits you in all the other categories. Yeah, so good job succeeding through a crutch, and keep it up. All right, next question. This one is from Nicholas.
Hey, Weldon. This is Nicholas.
Hi, Nicholas.
And I'll be starting
You're
university in the fall, and my earliest class is at 10 o'clock. I've always struggled with waking up and being productive, so during the school year, it's fine. I can wake up at 7 and just go straight to school. And during the summer, I just go to work whenever I have to go to work. But I've always struggled with waking up before doing what I have to do. So I've never been able to wake up to go run or meditate or cook breakfast before, my day begins. What's the best way to discipline myself into waking up earlier to have a more productive day? Thanks.
Okay. You guys can hear TSM in the background, I assume. Sorry about that. Nicholas, thanks for the question. I'm probably the worst person ever to ask about this because 2 reasons. 1, I suck at sleep. I've always sucked at sleep. And I don't really do well with disciplining myself to go to sleep on time. That's some like new thing that I've been able to do this year for the first time ever. And even as I say that, here I am up at 11 p.m. When I should have gone to sleep like at 9. But I wanted to stream for you guys. So streaming, by the way, you can check out this show on my stream live. You don't have to watch it here on YouTube. You can go to twitch.tv/mindgamesweldon every single evening and catch it there. Turn on notifications because, like I said, it's not always going to pop up every day at 7:30 p.m. LA time, but I try. Okay, so I'm a bad person to ask about that. And secondly, I'm a morning person, so I just wake up. Like, I love getting up early, and I have no problem with it. And I'm the kind of like, one alarm goes off and I'm up and at 'em. And generally speaking, if I have a good night of sleep, and I just enjoy that kind of morning peace and having a long stretch of time in front of me there. So I don't know what it's like to not be able to do that. So I would say probably, just like with any habit, the most important thing is that you make a no holds barred rule and you follow it for like a half a year or more. So it's just, you just decide that this is important for your life somehow. Like, I decided in January that it was important for my life that I learn how to sleep and go to bed. So I just started going to bed at like 8 and 9 p.m. every single night, period, no matter what. And I of course like break that rule here and there, but generally speaking, like, I just make it a rule no matter what I'm doing in order to force that upon myself. And I think it's the same thing for like this fast that I'm doing. So I'm doing this 5-day fast, and like I would break it so many times because there's so much delicious food here, and the TSM cooks are incredible, and it's just like all this overpoweringly delicious stuff. But I just decided it was important to me because I have this other goal I'm trying to get, have abs and sell t-shirts. Whatever vain goal you have, whatever like thing you can choose that makes that goal important to you, you use it to set a rule. Okay? So like, I have these very important things, and I work on their importance to me, and I like clarify them, and I write them down, and I want to attain them, and I envision how amazing it would be, and then I tell myself I'm the kind of person who's going to do that, and then here's the behavior that I need to do that, and I just set a rule, and I'm saying like, okay, I'm just going to do that. I'm just going to do it. And you make a rule and you just do it, and after a while it becomes a habit. Then you can't live without it. So now I get up in the morning and I stream and I go to the gym, and I learn to eat well also, and learning to go to sleep on time. So I think that those things came about because I chose that they were important to me, and I chose reasons, and I tied the daily behavior to the long-term action. And I actually have a program all about this, come to think of it. Somehow I'm turning this whole answer around to promoting my program. But if you go to mindgames.gg/MAC, one of the main precepts of this training program is the ability to take goals, turn them into valued goals. So things that you increase the importance of them, and you tie in like who you are on a daily basis. So they can be goals that you can accomplish today, and whether you accomplish them or not, in terms of the goal, you can live them out. They're goals that you live out instead of just do, and you've done them or not. So you have these valued goals out in the future, right? And then you have these behaviors in the day to day that you have to accomplish regularly in order to get there. And you connect those two things very strongly, and then that empowers you in the moment to like set these rules and just live through that disciplined behavior. And then you need mindfulness in order to like learn how to like kind of dodge around your emotions, because usually it's your emotions that are driving you, not your valued goals. And usually we're just emotionally driven creatures, and so you have to kind of like dodge around these emotions and understand them and regulate them down, and kind of like be mindful and let them pass, and do these things to make sure that you're not being driven by your emotions, and you're just driven by your valued goals. So for example, when the alarm goes off in the morning, you don't want to get up. Why don't you want to get up? You have all these emotional things that are like you're using as a coping mechanism, and you're just kind of hitting the alarm again. So just don't. Just choose not to, and the feeling will fade away very quickly. The emotional state that you're kind of like feeding into about not getting up early. So yeah, that's the question. And that's my answer. Make sure to check out the Mac program if you want to, mindgames.gg/MAC. Use the code AskWeldon in order to get a discount on it for watching this on YouTube and on Twitch. That's the code that I have for you guys, and that's so that I know where people buy it from, generally speaking, because I advertise it on my podcast as well and other channels. Yeah, I think that's all I have to say there. So let's jump into the last question of the show.
Hey, Weldon.
Hi, Tyler.
I'm Tyler, or Prospect, and I'm a Smash 4 player. My question to you is, how does one build mental endurance? I finally have gained the opportunity to start going to my weekly tournaments, and I play second. But when I found myself in Grands, I was very, very tired, and I found it hard to think. Granted, after playing 6 sets, that happened. And I was practicing meditation and mindfulness in between those sets on the way to Grands. Do you think that this will be something that I will adjust to as I compete more offline? Because mainly I just play on Wi-Fi, so it's a very different environment for me. And I've already made plans to start being more fit than just doing a morning jog. So I have that in the works. Any tips? Thank you.
All right, Tyler, thanks for the question. So generally speaking, like how can I increase your mental endurance? Well, I think you pretty much nailed it on the head. I don't know that I have any advice to give you because you figured it out. Two things. One, you get used to it so that you realize that you're not actually tired, and you learn how to focus through it, and you learn how to increase your willpower by doing things such as experiencing more tournaments, training mindfulness, keeping in touch with the false positive of mental exhaustion, which is that you need to kind of like, in a way, ignore it and use chemicals like caffeine regulated very well in order to overcome it, and then training yourself to focus through tiredness in order to reduce mistakes. So there's those sides. And then the other side is physical endurance. Your endurance is your endurance. It's the same physical or mental. When you get tired, you get tired. And so you've seen in esport the reduction of people who look like they have gamers' bodies and the increase of people who are fit. And the reason is because you cannot sustain the amount of required learning and focus and attention and training in a given day necessary to live out a professional competitive life in a motorsport. So not in something like a card game, but in a sport that requires reflex training and reaction speed, your motor cortex. So it just requires volume training. You can't just be smarter. You actually have to be able to do it when the rubber meets the road. You can't do that unless you have, or you can do it better if you are fitter. So you can do it better, you can train longer, you can learn more in each training session, and you can compete better once you get on stage. So that's just been the trend over the last 8 years, and it's going to continue. So I think that aerobic training is actually one of the best. I don't know that you need to do anything but running. I guess you could just go ahead and work on your fitness in terms of, musculature or whatever. But I think if you already have your fitness squared away, the only way you can turn is diet. The only direction you can turn is diet. So you have to think about how to be a cognitive performer diet-wise, and that means making sure that you read books like The Longevity Diet or How Not to Die, and you really understand how the body works at a nutrient level. Maybe listen to the Rhonda Patrick podcast. She has a podcast series. She's really into micronutrients, serving the body's micronutrient needs very well, and understand what you need to dose in terms of supplementation, and understand what you need to eat and not eat in terms of like macros and main food sources to keep your mental clarity very high. So I would say that's the last lever that you need to turn if you have your fitness squared away and if you're working on your endurance training in terms of just doing your sport on stage. So yeah, that's the show for you today, everybody. Thank you for all the questions. You can ask your question for the show at anchor.fm/Weldon Green, anchor.fm/Weldon Green. I think there's an app there. You can download it. You might be able to call in through the web app now. You just raise your phone to your ear and just talk it in, and you get this very radio-esque quality to your voice because they have these algorithms that kind of tune you up, make it sound like you're not talking through a little cheapy microphone on your phone, but you're actually talking through like some $100 podcasting microphone. It's pretty awesome. And you submit the question. We'll get to it. I've got about a 7-day backlog right now, so we'll get to yours on the show live, hopefully soon. And make sure to check out my Patreon, patreon.com/MindGamesWeldon. If you want to learn about the fast that I'm doing, that's where I'm posting all that information there. If you want to see behind-the-scenes stuff on my coaching and my fitness life, that's generally speaking where I'm going to do my story around my fitness life, etc. And it's just the best place to kind of say, this is a way to support what you do, Weldon. So that's the best location if you're looking for support there, or my Discord, essentially, is where I hang out all the time. And, nothing else to say except thanks everybody who was cheering us on in the quarterfinals, and I'm just glad we could win for you. TSM out. See you tomorrow.